Hello guys from Sitka channel. We're going to talk about Iberian history, okay? The history of Iberian Peninsula. And we're going to talk about the history of Portugal because it is the Portugal course. But if you want to understand the history of Spain, you have to see my Spanish course, okay? So, first we're going to talk about this. Subscribe to my channel, click on the bell, click on like, comment on the video, okay? My social networks is Ciência em Todo Tempo-Polimatia de Sitka. It is my Twitter, and I have a Twitch, Magno Sitka Videoaulas, okay? You can follow me up there. So first I have to say for you, the bedrock, the embryo, the seed of the Portugal and the Spanish is the same, but we're going to explain the difference after I'm explaining for you the Muslims invasions, okay, in the next video. In this video I'm going to talk about the prehistory, the first folks, the Greeks and the Phoenicians in this place, okay, in the Iberian Peninsula. But after I'm going to talk about the Romans, the Suebi and the Visigoths in pair, and after I'm going to talk about the Muslims invasions, okay? And let's go. Oops. So the prehistory is really interesting to understand because happened divisions of continents, and after a time the hominids had born in Africa and becomes to get spread on the earth, becomes to spread around the world out, and it is really interesting to understand because after a time the Homo sapiens born had born on Africa and begins to got spread too, and after a good time the Homo sapiens becomes to get involved with the Cro-Magnon, the Neanderthal and the Heidelbergensis in wars, in mixtures, and it is really interesting to understand because the Cro-Magnon, the Neanderthal and the Heidelbergensis disappear from the face of Earth. But it is really interesting if you have a European, when you're going to see the blood of a European, maybe you're going to find the Cro-Magnon, the Neanderthal, the Heidelbergensis blood too in this blood, okay? Let's go. So, in the ancient history, it's really interesting to understand the Aquitanian was there, but the Indo-Europeans becomes to go to this place. So the Celtics, the Tennessee and other people becomes to go to there. And after a good time, the Greeks and the Phoenicians becomes to get involved in their trade, in relationships with three peoples of the Iberian Peninsula, okay? So let's go. It is really interesting to understand that you have 6 peoples. That's going to be really interesting to understand in this period, the ancient times. And you have the Ternatinian, the Tartessian, the Celtic, the Iberian, the Aquitanian, and the Pre-Celtics. So let's go. The Aquitanian, they were part of the oldest people on the peninsula, dating back to the period before the arrival of the Indo-Europeans, like I said before, passing the most different culture of the peninsula. And it is really interesting to understand that the Aquitanians is going to give birth for the Basque, and the Basque language doesn't have any roots that's going to be similar with the Indo-Europeans language, like the Latin, that's going to give birth for the Romanic language, like the Portuguese, like the Romanian, like the French, like the Italian, like the Portuguese, okay? So it is really interesting to understand, okay? Let's go. The Pre-Celtics is going to be really interesting too, because the Lusitans in general had a root for this. Is a part of the bedrock of the Portugal nation, okay? It is really interesting because Camões is going to talk about the Lusitans, the Romans, and is going to explain why this people is really interesting to Portugal, okay? But they were one of the most important peoples of the Iberian Peninsula, including the Portuguese, who are considered one of the key peoples of the formation of Portugal as a nation. But it's good to understand that it's not only the Lusitans, okay? Next, we have the Ternatanian people that was considered by the Greeks as the most advanced peoples on the Iberian Peninsula. The origin of the people were almost erased, so the religion, the language, everything don't have a bedrock that you can find exactly without to understand this mixture of with the Greeks and the Phoenicians. Okay, the Ternatanian was mixture with these people. And after this, we have the Ternatesian, and the Iberian. That happens the same thing. So, the Ternatesian, they were one of the most ancient people of the peninsula, and they had an influence of the Phoenicians and Greeks, and had contact with the Ternatesian people. And it's really interesting to understand. The Iberian is the same thing, but you have trade routes, you have the trade routes, you have a lot of of contact with these people in general: the Ternatanian, the Ternatesian, the Iberian, the Greeks, and the Phoenicians, because you have a good trade that's going to be formed in this time. It is really interesting to understand. So you have the last people that came in the Iberian Peninsula, that is the Celtic. The Celtic becomes to conquer a lot of space in this place, and he becomes to be important because of the culture, the habits, the language, and it's really interesting to understand because you have a lot of things that was made by these people. Yes, and so it's only this for this lecture, but in the next class, I'm going to talk about the Romans, the Suebi, the Visigoths impaired. So don't forget to subscribe on my channel and click on the bell, click on like and comment, because I'm going to explain in the next class Muslim invasions too. So it is everything. So bye.